Hi, welcome and namaste to the Yoga Out of the Box podcast. My name is Marv. I'm a yoga teacher and practitioner of Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga. And on this podcast, I try to share as honest as I can, like my journey as a yoga teacher in particular, as well as a practitioner. And I try to bring you guys like some interesting thoughts from myself or from different kind of teachers out of the field of yoga or like movement, mobility, wellness, everything you can name. Yeah, let's have an honest chat today because I got some quiet, nice questions from you guys in the comment section as well as in private DMs. And like you know, I just restarted this podcast after a longer break, and the last few episodes have been about this big topic of 2025, which was like being a yoga teacher and getting into this trouble while you're more teaching than practicing yourself. And one of the biggest reasons for me to get out of my rhythm, to get out of my so healthy routine was an injury. And I think this is something most yoga teachers nowadays don't talk about often enough, and the same way the whole yoga and wellness community is not talking about it that much. I am like a strong believer in asana, in like a physical practice, and I just had like in a recent post on Instagram like kind of conversation with somebody who was kind of disagreeing with me in this point. And I hear this more and more often, that people say asana is not yoga, and there's just like one part of yoga and you can practice yoga so many different ways, and all of this is true, guys. And I totally get where this point is coming from. And for me as well, my asana is not like just exercise practice. And I totally get when people nowadays have more and more this viewpoint of, oh wow, this asana is taking us so way far apart from what it is. I mean, if you have a look on Instagram, if you see all these people just like representing themselves on their bodies and doing crazy stuff, right? I mean, like with this rocket in Bali and all these perfect bodies, everybody's taking off, right? And this is definitely not what I mean. But for me and for a lot of my teachers as well, has asana been like not just the first door opener to get into yoga, but it is and it was always for me the most meditative practice. And depends on how you understand your yoga for yourself, but just to make it clear from my point of view, the asana is just one part of yoga for sure, but you can find in asana all of the 8 limbs of yoga. And for me, it's more the kind of practice to bring all of these 8 limbs together. And I think most people try to isolate again, to say, no, this is not yoga, this isn't yoga. This is not the bigger picture, guys. Today we speak especially about asana, and we speak about something which is happening. It's just happening nowadays. So if you complain about or not, asana is the most common way for people to start into yoga. And if we can't change that, and this is the starting point for most people, we should work with that. And if we want to work with this, we have to talk about the topic of injuries first, and second about the kind of like what happens if your teacher is injured as well. Okay. And I want to be like pretty honest with you in this conversation, because this was one of my main points why I restarted this podcast now, because I think I want to bring some more authenticity to yoga, and I want to bring more a kind of like self-reflective side of my own view as a practitioner and as a teacher to the side, because all I see nowadays in the yoga industry and on social media is super polished, right? And everybody's a perfect practitioner, but that's not always the case. And I think we also have to make a step back and have a look on our teachers and see none of them is enlightened, and maybe none of them is actually like even close to that. So we have to reframe that and re-question that. When it comes to my personal practice, you guys know I have like a pretty, let's say, strong, decent kind of practice. I come from a background of like Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga, so I'm pretty strong in my practice. I love to practice a lot. I love to practice strong. And last year was for me a stage where I really was practicing a lot. I came just from Brazil, practicing a lot with my teacher, just like really set the base and the fundament of going deeper into my own practice, which was amazing. And then I came back here to Europe, to Germany, especially to open my own Mysore room. And so my practice even was more intense and stacked with my teaching. And while I was doing that, I didn't want to like make some sacrifices because, and I think you know this if you practice for long enough. And I had this really funny comment from a friend of mine in Mysore, greetings to Shara, that the practice is actually not just super healthy, but it's also healthy because it keeps a lot of stuff away from you, right? So it brings like, you're not just closer to yourself and to the healthy life choices, but if you really want to practice, it brings a lot of like unhealthy stuff away from you. You have to go to bed early, you have to wake up early, you can't go out so much, you can't drink so much, you can't eat so unhealthy. You really have to do some sacrifices, question marks on that, to get a good practice. And this is the beauty about, like, for example, something like Ashtanga, where you really get into this rhythm and your life start to change, not immediately, but by time, because you prioritize your practice more. And being honest, guys, I did this for like a few months, but there was distractions. And I wouldn't be a yogi and I wouldn't be like a good teacher if I would tell you there haven't been any distractions. And some of them I have been quite good on my way to ignore, to go aside, to make good choices. While others, I actually took the wrong step. Let's put it like this. I went out to party, I went out for long nights. I was always teaching because for me as a teacher, and this is the second side of the medal, if you're now not just a practitioner, but a teacher, you have this kind of not just responsibility for yourself, but also the responsibility for somebody else. And knowing that my students will be there at 6 a.m. in this shala and they are waiting for a yoga teacher to be there and to hold the space for them made me not super proud, not just super proud, but at the same time like super respectful for their time. So even if I went out, even if I had some long nights out, I directly went to the shala in the morning, take a shower, practice and teach. At some point, it was just like a lot of load. And this load like exploded in like a kind of engineering way for myself. And this is a big learning for me as a practitioner, to not just not attach to something like your physical asana, which is, I think, maybe also the essential point the person on Instagram wanted to mention earlier, because I was in love with my practice. I was in love with my body, how it felt, how it looked, how it worked together. And I was grateful. I was really grateful for, wow, I was doing like, everything without feeling any knee, without feeling any shoulder or elbow. I was just like super happy with it. And there was a kind of attachment to that. Then I was hiking as well a lot. Can't say no in some cases when my friends and my brother ask, and you go to a vacation, you have an amazing time, and then the load got too much. And the IT band of my right knee get injured. It popped while I had like a really nice photo shoot with a friend of mine, and I was trying to do Karadavasana, which worked pretty fine until I hear the sound like, and I felt the inside of my right knee quite strong. And after that, my rest was not there. It was there, but not long enough, not strong enough, consciously enough. And my practice took a step back, which was not just hard for me in the sense of like, I had to let go of this attachment of how my practice should look like and how I felt and how I identified myself as a yoga teacher to be in a certain kind of state, while my students made like more and more progress than I did. And after a while, my practice faded away because I didn't feel like quite good. It got like autumn in Europe, Germany, so it got quite cold in the mornings when I wanted to practice at around 4:35. It was quite cold. I felt it in my joints. I felt like a really old man talking about this, and I was, wow, I just lost my practice at one point. And it was everything I identified as a yoga teacher burst away because, like I mentioned earlier, for me, the asana is not just something physical. It's not just like how it looks. It's like how I relate to my own practice, how I find my spirituality in my day-to-day life, how I got like my glimpse of spirituality, of like the divine, like the somatic experience of really living. And how all of this happens, it's not super fast. It's quite slow, like the whole process. Now I can see it like in the backward, and I think we always can just see it like looking backward. We can never see looking forward. We can just looking backward and see, oh wow, okay, build up like this, the overload, and then the same weight go down. It was hard for me, being honest. It was really, really hard and tough for me, and it was something I guess happens a lot. It happens a lot to yoga practitioners and people. And I think if you practice yoga and you have this feeling of you overdo, you overachieve, you maybe not take the sacrifices your practice needs to keep your body healthy in a complete sense, it just makes a bit unconscious about your practice. And if this happens, you have to be aware that this is not anymore yoga. I was not doing yoga anymore before that. Even if I had like my experience, I was not present. I was away from my practice actually. And I can tell this now. And it was quite a journey. After a while, I got back to practice. I got back to my sort of practice actually. I overloaded. I got some injuries again. Different story, but in general, I got back to practice through asana. I got back to work out my body, my injuries through asana. And it's not 110% now. I want to be honest with you guys. I'm sometimes about like 95%, sometimes I'm just 75%. But I had to learn to deal with not just the injury, but also my authenticity as a teacher. Because this happens. This is not like a unique case. And to have this, oh, how can I teach someone when I'm not even able to take care of myself, is something which struck me down and which made me like stop teaching evenly for 2 months. Because I was really thinking, oh wow, what happens to me now? Can I actually teach? I haven't done so many years of practice like other people. I don't have this high ground, though I can say my body doesn't matter because I can tell you this and that. I just want to be the example. I want to be the person who can at least not be the next big teacher, but the guy who can show you, okay, the next steps on your way. And for me, it was like a quite, let's say, hard way to get back, not just to my practice, but as well to my teaching. And what I can say is that both goes hand in hand. Like you lose something, you have to find a way back the same way. And for me, tapping first back into my practice, reminding myself what I was practicing for, why I was practicing in the first place, and what does that mean to my practice? Because actually even people have like a really rigid view on Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga, for example. I haven't had any Ashtanga teacher. It doesn't matter in Mysore, doesn't matter like in other places in India, doesn't matter like my main teacher who was rigid with me. All the great teachers I choose, all the great teachers I was so lucky to have been super supportive, have been super, super helpful, and even been open for adjustments, even been open for like working that out with me. And I think there's like the gold which I found. The message that I can practice, maybe not with this knee, but I can, and we can work this out together. And this is the beauty and the magic of a Mysore room for me, that most other yoga styles at this moment don't deliver to me, at least, that you have this intimate relationship with your teacher, that you have this kind of conversation, that you have this kind of understanding of seeing each other like more and more often, like having a constant relationship, working together towards something and having this kind of communication about it. And it started in Mysore. Both of my teachers there, like the Ashtanga and the backbending. I did a Hatha Vinyasa backbending course as well. Worked together for me quite nicely. We worked with my knee, we worked together, we got back into the practice, and actually even more like introducing myself to a new yoga style like Black Lotus, where I will talk about tomorrow in the next episode about like this immersion with Thai and having a different view of, okay, how can we reintroduce Ashtanga? How can we rethink Ashtanga from a modern kind of perspective and way? Super helpful, super interesting, but I wouldn't have gone there if I wouldn't have been back to practice. And at the same time, I could get back to my practice by just saying, okay, my knee is hurting in this way, so I have to bring more awareness to this. I have to bring my awareness so focused into this knee that I can really work with this. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely understand that there are some injuries which are way worse than what I have, way more difficult, way harder. I don't say that for everyone practicing asana is the right way. I just say it was super helpful for me. It was helping me not just to work out what the actual course was, not just working out how I could fix it, how I could strengthen it, how I could get back into my practice and being now, even with just 95% at good days, better than I have been ever before in my sense of like a practice, not just physically, but in the sense of like fully. And I think that this is the beauty of practice, to be fully present and to have more awareness in your body than ever before, and to like evenly design your practice around that, which gives you again like the confidence that if you did this for yourself, and if you let go of all these attachments you had about the self-image, you can do this for your students, and you can do this actually to give to people, to help them not just be like this figure on a mountain up there in the Himalaya meditating, being in Buddha, but already being a human being living modern life yoga in this world, not somewhere far apart, but here and now. And this was super, super helpful for me and give me, in my sense, more authenticity, more a sense of honesty in my own practice. And I think that my students feel that. And lastly, I got back to Brazil. You guys know that my teacher is there. She is quite honest with me. Let's put it like this. I got back on the mat and she was, what have you done? What have you done with this beautiful practice I created? I worked together with you. And I was like, I'm sorry, Kaka. I fucked it up. I was stupid. And she could have been like, like a human, sometimes being too stupid boy. And I think maybe I should rename this podcast into Stupid Boy, because all of my good teachers, Rolf, Tai, Kaka, all of them called me like Stupid Boy. But at the same time, I think none of them gave up. And all of them worked through that to me. So what should I say? After like 1 month more practice, I'm at 95% and I'm feeling better than ever before. I'm feeling more healthy than ever before. My practice is not just back, but it's transformed to something way more authentic. And the same way as my teaching. You guys know, if you follow this podcast, if you follow me along for a while now, that I think that all teaching has to come from authenticity, from a place of like experience for yourself. And I'm super happy. And I can just encourage you, if you're a yoga teacher, get back to your practice. If you have an injury, this doesn't cost you a credibility. It gives you a real story, a real evaluation of your own practice. You just have to go back, you have to go through, you have to work on that, you have to work with this, and it can give you this kind of sense, okay, maybe my students will have the same experience one day, and how can I work with them? At the same time, if you're a practitioner and you injured yourself, you don't have to be ashamed of being a yogi and you hurt yourself. I think nowadays everybody sees these perfect people doing crazy stuff and you feel like, and I injured my knee? Really? These people doing like fucking walking handstands, putting their legs somewhere, standing up, what the fuck ever. And I'm here and I want just to practice yoga. I had like great experience and now I hurt myself, and I have to admit this to all the people that maybe I hurt myself, maybe I'm not a good yogi. Injuries happens. It's life, and yoga is the practice of life. We can do our best to prevent it. We can work together, we can get more knowledge, we can bring more awareness to our practice and to our bodies. But sometimes we're stupid and it happens. Again, I don't want to make it less harmful for people if they have like a really bad injury. I just want to take this burden away that you think you're like the only one on this planet. It happens to yoga teachers, it happens to yoga practitioners. All the older yogis have done some injuries, have got some hip replacement or whatever. It doesn't make you a better or a worse yogi. It just is another challenge, another step on your way of yoga. And this is what I want you to see, that injuries happens and it's just a step on your way. It's not the end. It's not something ultimate. It's just step on your way, and you can build your practice around that. You can build your practice to support that. You can make the next step. I hope this gives you some reframing of the picture. I hope there was something in here for you. Like always, I'm super grateful to have the opportunity to host this podcast, to share my thoughts, to have people listening to that. So thank you so much, guys. Yeah, if you want to stick around, please leave a comment. Please follow the podcast along. Wherever you see it, please share it. If you know somebody who could be interested in it, that really helps me out. Yeah. What can I say? We have a school community where you can practice like once a week with me and with the others in my room. If you haven't experienced that yet, try it out. Otherwise, I wish you a great day ahead of you. Bye and namaste.